Hey, Composing Gloves here, and today we are going to take a look at creating sort of wind-like textures and metallic textures as an atmosphere. So in the background, creating this sort of like you're in a cave or, a space, or maybe even to be used as a riser. So first, let's open it up. Here is the patch I have. It is this one right here. I was going for wind, and along the way, I came across lots of metallic sort of tones. So first, let me play for you my tone. So let me go to piano roll here. First, I'm going to play for you a low tone. Sort of has an now this, if you don't have sub bass available to you, you're not going to get the full effect of this. But here it is. So as you can see, very sort of opens the space up like you're somewhere. Great for drum and bass. If we take this and make it higher, you see it has sort of a metal ring to it. You can change that metal ring depending on a lot of factors. So let me really quick go in here. I like this low one a lot. So if I choose the prism, as you can see, so what am I doing here? So Harmor is not that great for wind. It's not that great for sort of these atmospheric textures. Other things have noise generators that make them more suitable for something like that. But it can still make noise. You just got to know how to do it. So first off, I'm using Hertz mode to throw things off on the unison. I have the unison pitch all the way up. I panned it and turned the phase down. Doesn't really matter too much. Now, noise is just random, right? And there's all these different types of noise, so I didn't really care. I just wanted random. So I came over to the effects. I'm using a whole bunch of soft saturation with that off. That's what it sounds like with the soft saturation on. And be really careful which one you pick. You could like blow your ears out if you're not careful. So as you can see, that's the soft saturation. I'm using both of these to their maximum capacity. So you may want to record this as a separate thing and then put it in your track rather than have it running, because this is going to eat CPU like no business. So it's going to eat it. Harmonizer's on. Surprisingly, it is in a harmonic relationship. But I have gone and made this sort of unusual shape in the timbre to give it some more randomness. I could even randomize the phase of all the harmonics. That'd be it's interesting as well. I have the reverb all the way up, and I believe that is most of what I'm touching. I'm not touching any of the envelopes, and I am touching a good deal of EQ because the upper end is quite bright, and I don't want that. That would be super annoying. And you can of course change the decay time. But yeah, so let's make one. So here we go. So that's our sound. I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to turn the unison pitch up. Do that. I'm going to turn it on Hertz. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so now I'm going to turn. Let's go over here to the effects. Turn the unison on. Some people really like sounds like that. And then I really like them. I'd use that in some sort of like a chill deep house type track with a filter on it. It's kind of an interesting deal. Look at this. If we made it like a bandpass. Not bandstop, bandpass. So anyways, you can see we get a lot of interesting things as we go down this path of weirdness. So okay, so we have that on. Now I need more noise. Like this is not doing it for me. So I'm gonna come over here to my harmonics, and I'm gonna mess with this, right? But the problem we'll come across is it still sounds like a note, and we don't necessarily want it to sound like a note. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lower the range of the fundamental. Now we're pretty much at the point where this is just noise. which is a good thing. Is what we want. So we can even increase this soft saturation. I'm gonna warn you right now. If you use log or something else that's a pretty severe type of distortion, you're gonna hurt your ears or your speakers. It's just not a good idea. So be careful with the distortions you select. Like soft saturation, safe, ribbon. If you do select log, take the amount all the way off and the wetness all the way off, and back your way onto it. Right there's probably about the limit. So I'm going to choose soft saturation, though I like what it does. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Now, if we take it down a couple octaves, we might. So using the filter distortion could be an interesting tool. The order of effects could be important here. You want your reverb, and then you could compress your reverb. You could, move these things around and mess with them if you so desire. We can even come in here on the EQ and. So that's really an interesting thing. Now we could detune it and even make it more random, because then we break the harmonic series, which is kind of what we want to do. Something else to help with randomness that I did not do on the other patch is I did not choose randomize. This is rolling phase. This is a randomize every single harmonics phase. So sort of helps variate that texture up. Now if we change the mix, we get a really cool kind of crossfade thing here. Timbre's a really big deal. So if we like maximum. So we can turn on the sub. Just some really, really cool stuff. So now one of the secrets to a thing like this, let's get rid of this one. Whoops. Let's go in here and let's change. Let's put a note in. Whoops. Let's put in this wind. So you can get some metal textures out of here too, simply by changing how much the harmonizer's on. That's a good way to get your sort of cinematic sub. But if we took our harmonic in this timbre and put it back, now we could take the distortion off on this. And you have sort of a tone that's much more metallic-like in nature. And you can hear it ringing quite a bit in the background. So that's one way to deal with that. Now I like the noise more. So I'm going to work with that. And I'm going to put in a note here. We'll make it a low note. So here's our note. Now I'm going to, whoops, I put the note in the wrong one. Piano roll, piano roll. So you see that sounds quite a bit brighter right there too. So here we go. All right, cool. Now I'm going to use now there's a couple options we have here. So we could use a low pass filter and come at it from the bottom end. So we have this sort of sub, and our sound sort of emerges from there, and we get this sort of wind. You sound like we're in like a tunnel or cave or something. Then we could go to a bandpass. Now, the bandpass is going to change how many harmonics are available. So you could get single tones from this, or you could get like these small clusters of tones. Be interesting to do a parallel processing. So you can put it in parallel and make this one a low pass. Bring it down. Make its width, not so great. So we have some of that low end, and then wherever our middle is. Make it a bandpass. Make this one a Now we could, so I'm going to make this a high pass. I'm going to disable this one. I'm just going to put it on custom shape, make it serial. So I'm going to make this one a high pass. You may not want your notes so loud at this point, but so those are all interesting options. Now so I like the low pass the most when the band pass. You know what, let's do a band pass automation. So I'm going to have it down there. I'm going to create an automation clip and automate that. Sort of do something really subtle right here. And of course, the note you pick is going to determine where your filter affects it. Because if it's a low pass, but you're playing a really high note, you're going to lose your stuff really fast at the bottom end of your filter. So like you turn your filter all the way on. Well, let's say your note's fundamental, its lowest note is like around like 4,000 hertz. As soon as you go below 4K, your filter's not going to do anything else. It doesn't matter if you're filtering that. So that's another thing you need to be aware of. So I'm going to do something like one of these double little things, and then a really small thing over here. Just for demonstration. So we have our cool sort of reverb going on. Now to add to it, I'm going to change the width of this filter as we're going to. I'm going to just gently go up and down. So that's really interesting. So, okay, now let's add to this and let's mess with the clipping. Let's do the clipping on a hard low threshold. And let's create an automation clip for this. And let's bring it down sort of right here just a little bit. And now all this stuff's covered in my Harmor from the ground up. To add to this sound, because we're using so much CPU, we might as well. It'd be interesting to make a pluck out of this, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. We can change the reverb filters on this, which would also be quite an interesting deal to mess with. While that one goes down, I've lost sound. Oh, the threshold should be inverted. We get sort of this really weird sort of wind. So if we get rid of the threshold. Let me go change the threshold back to the way it was. Now you notice it goes up right here. If you don't want that, you come over here, go to current project, patterns, initialize controls. This is what? The clipping threshold, delete event. And it should now no longer be a pain in the butt. As you can see, it no longer moves. So that's something that is a super good thing. So let's say we want this to be a low pass instead. It's kind of an interesting deal. Add a little bit of resonance. So okay, now let's try it with our variation on the square wave, because I changed it a little bit with the maximum setting. Get a lot more sub. Really get some cinematic feels here. So add some compression. So I'm going to cut that there and just call that good. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day.
Feeling